Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. This is Naaman with the Great Millstone Camp here in DC. All right, and I'm back for another video. But first and foremost, call halal Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakah Kodash. Of course, once again, double honors go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. All right, I'd like to send salutations out to the fellow Akim, all right, that are out there on the highways and byways, all right, pushing the truth across four corners of the earth. Aided, of course, by the many, many videos that go out, all right? And those are there for edification of the hopefully elect of our people, because that's what we're out here for, all right, as we're commanded, all right? But let me get this real quick. I failed to bring it up beforehand. Let's get that copyright disclaimer. All right, here we go. I'm looking for the Google one. Here we go. All right. All right, here we go. Salakia there. System here is a little slow. This is one that I resurrected. All right, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Fair use, fair use, fair use. All right. And the site I'm using here is MS Now. Lo and behold, look like they did your girl dirty. But anyone feeling sorry for her? Hell no. All right, I got to do it with my mic here because the stand is in there somewhere. It says, Bye Bye Bondi, former AG portrait found in trash only 24 hours after ouster. So they were glad to see her ass go. All right. These are her staff. And you know she was one proud devil. All right, everybody, if you didn't know, you should have gotten that by her being grilled on Capitol Hill there. I mean, they want to call us ghetto, but like, damn. I mean, she just totally non-professional. All right. Again, proud. Let's get a scripture comes to mind real quick. All right. Yeah. It you know, these scriptures, they lie. This is verse. Let's see. 16. All right. And this thing is sensitive. All right. Verse 18. Pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall. And she was, again, just proud. She just knew she was going to be there forever. All right. And the one she was most loyal to, in case you haven't heard, all right, Trump was going to attend the Supreme Court hold on, he was attending the Supreme Court hearing as it had to do with the 14th Amendment. They're ruling on that with this, what amounts to, the anchor baby situation, what it is, and they're trying to, I don't understand why people can't understand what's going on, but just so you know, they're not having enough white babies. and they're so concerned about, it's the usual thing. A bunch of brown-skinned folk, you know, overpopulating them, making them the minority. So this is one of the ways where they're trying to decrease the black and brown so-called population. All right, get rid of these people because you see, you've never seen them round up a bunch of Edomite foreigners, have you? No, I haven't. So they're trying to get these people out of here, and with this 14th Amendment being expressly for the descendants of slaves, as was his original intent. All right. Well, the last, there were several cases. One was right there around 1898, and it had to do with a Moabite. I can't remember his name. His last name was Wong. But everybody points to that case that wants to misuse the 14th Amendment to say, well, everybody can come over here and, if they have a baby, the baby is an American citizen, blah, 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 But the point being, everybody's misused the things that were intended for us. All right. So the only reason that the Republicans are pissed is because it's affecting them, as usual. All right. So on the way there, it's rumored that he told her in the, that beast, that armored presidential Cadillac, that she was fired, and that he even had a replacement. All right. And you can see it's a photo they have where the guy that's replacing her, I forget his name offhand. She's just got this look on her face like, you motherfucker. All right. But what do you expect? This is what you get. They're all a bunch of reservoir dogs. All right. Trump is only loyal to Trump and the people that are pulling his strings. That's it. All right. So all of you that were kissing his ass, expect more. All right, and once again, Proverbs 16:18. Pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall. And she was haughty. All right. 19. Better it is to be of an humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil. All right. Again, this thing is so sensitive with the trackpad. All right, again, better is it to be an humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. And that's what all these devils are doing. All right, this is current administration. All right, like again, there's no, and she's finding the hard way. And like I said, nobody's gonna feel sorry for her. All right, there's no honor among thieves, murderers, and pedophiles, and whatever else have you that occupy, your current administration here. But again, let's go ahead and get into this. Hey, this is funny to me. Once again, I'd like to apologize beforehand. It's kind of a weak signal here.
Take a look at this. The announcement of former Attorney General Pam Bondi's departure is barely 24 hours old, and her portrait has already...
Look at that. In the trash, where you belong.
The Department of Justice. And as Donald Trump gets more and more anxious about his splintering base and declining poll numbers, more Trump cabinet officials could actually find their portraits in the trash can as well. The Atlantic is reporting that Pam Bondi's firing is unlikely to be the last. In part, the reporting suggests cabinet secretaries and other senior administration officials were anxiously eyeing their phones, wondering whether they'd be next. Several people familiar with the White House's plans told us that there are active discussions about others leaving the administration, including...
Yeah, I know he'd be top of the list. That ass-kissing Elamite, Kash Patel. Slacky.
FBI Director Kash Patel, Army Secretary Daniel Driscoll, and Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer. It is a sudden return to the chaos of his first term. The Atlantic adds that, quote, Trump had been reluctant to get rid of any of his top lieutenants, viewing firings as a concession to the Democrats and the media. Even in the past few months, there had been an edict that no cabinet officials would be removed prior to the midterms, though a series of dismissals were planned for after Election Day. But the president's declining support since he launched the Iran war has changed the political calculus. The odds of confirming replacements, advisors know, are only growing longer. One person close to the White House told us that Trump was buoyed by the reaction to his decision to remove former Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, and that it made him more likely to move ahead with Bondi. I want to bring into the conversation staff writer for The Atlantic, Sarah Fitzpatrick, and former assistant special agent in charge at the FBI and national security intelligence analyst, Michael Feinberg. It's good to have both of you with us. Sarah, this is an incredible piece of reporting. Just talk to us a little bit about Trump's willingness to clean house and what's the strategy here? Why specific people, even people like Pam Bondi, who on the surface of it appear to be doing his bidding war? She had weaponized the Department of Justice and gone after his political enemies the way he wanted.
Look, I think what we're seeing here is a real change in calculus. We're seeing a White House finally respond in some ways to the political reality that often
I hope that you can hear
We're seeing an understanding that this may be the last chance.
the video portion of this, because to me it's mighty low.
Recently made its way into the West Wing and really affirmed that the Republicans may not fully be in charge of Congress come this fall.
But as you can see, it's at 100.
Very reactionary attempt to do everything all at once and try and get all the bad news out there so that they can make new plans. But this is, I would say, a very live ball that has changed in the last week. Yes, there have been discussions for many months, but the decision to make this change and to kind of do it all at once, and we're anticipating more firings next week and in the coming weeks, that is a very recent development, and it's a White House that is not feeling confident right now.
Yeah, it's an embattled White House, and even more dangerous that it's coming in the middle of a war. Let me drill down on this, Sarah. You write this.
Yeah, let me stop it right here because that's a good point. Isn't it funny? The irony is not lost. Here they are pushing for regime change in, you know, a country that hasn't bothered no one. And yet, everything here is falling apart. Look at all the generals, all right, that are being let go, that he's replaced. Even the Joint Chief of Staff, you know, which was a Jake the moment he took office, all right? And it's only gotten worse. I think it's 20-something now. And these last two, because they refused to knock a couple of Jakes and a couple of women off the promotion list to get their stars. You know, being promoted into the general ranks, you know, brigadier generals. You know. Yeah, and I hope you all are looking at those animations that Iran is, because I mean this wicked ass place is losing on all Israel too is losing on all levels, and it's beautiful to see. I mean, the propaganda war they're losing, because everybody's figured out now that America is lying. All right, their own former allies are distancing themselves from America, because they're like, why are you drawing us into this, you know? And especially as it concerns the oil, you know, the energy. You know, what if this had started in, say, October, November? You know. But the thing is, you know, just like what they're doing. I find it strange too that they're being selective as to who they want to deal with it. They just didn't close it all together. I'm talking about the Strait of Hormuz. They're letting them know, no, it's you that we have a problem with. America and Israel specifically. All right. And they're handing them their ass. And I, for one, I'm glad to see it. They thought it was going to be a
Bondi
cakewalk.
firing. Bondi did everything right, or at least everything Trump asked her to do, but in the end, it was not enough. For Trump and for his succession of attorneys general, it is almost never enough. In some ways, Bondi's official service to Trump seemed preordained to end the way it did, with a singular moment of crystalline humiliation after weeks of low-grade indignities. Bondi was not former Attorney General Jeff Sessions. She would not recuse herself. She would not draw lines. She would not do anything other than loyalty and serve the president, I should say, loyally. Can anyone survive serving this president if loyalty is the ultimate test? You have Kash Patel out there. You've got Pete Hegseth. All of these people seem to be in very difficult situations after years of being subservient and loyal to Trump.
I think what you see is, and as one person very close to the White House told me yesterday, that the president has a vision that he is ultimately the head of the Department of Justice, and that the AG is the person whose job it is.
No, I have to
enforce
disagree.
His goals, his asks, and
He's got a hand up his backside, or he's a puppet. He's doing what he is told, and in the meantime, he's got people like this former AG here that were just there to cover his ass. That's it. Not do, especially when it came to the Epstein files, and this other guy that's replacing her, looks like he's, in that regard, he's going to be worse. Like nothing else is going to come out as far as the files are concerned. So we'll see.
I think that really is a very different view than most prosecutors, most civil servants have who go into government, especially in the post-Watergate norms in which, most people working at the Department of Justice view themselves as being separate from the president. They view themselves as serving the public and the American people and ultimately the Constitution. And so I think, yes, there has always been, even the most loyal servants ultimately are going to come up against the Constitution. They're going to come up against a workforce that is used to following the law, following what is demanded. And I think what we're seeing now in some ways is a something that was of Trump's own design, because the Justice Department, I cannot emphasize this enough, there are so few people left there. There has been such a huge exodus that for the first time this department has had recruit for attorneys on X, on social media. That has never really had to happen before, because these were
That's sad when you think about it.
And you're seeing people making mistakes, people making errors, because they don't have the talent pool, they don't have the expertise, and they don't have the reps. So I think this was an inevitable conclusion, and it is one that has put our justice system in a very...
See, this is the thing. America has gotten away so long. This place just run, smoke and mirrors. They pretend like they got it together. They're so super smart. And you're seeing it all fall apart right in front of your face. All right, let's get some more scriptures here. Let's see. All right, let's go to Psalms. Because this is what you do. This is what you get when you serve evil, This is Psalm 73. Let's see, where will I start? All right. Let's see. I'll start at 12. Behold, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world. They increase in riches. All right. Verily, I have cleansed my heart in vain and washed my hands in innocency. For all the day long have I been plagued and chastened every morning. If I say I will speak thus, behold, I should offend against the generation of thy children. When I thought to know this, it was too painful for me until I went into the sanctuary of the Most High. Then understood I therein. And this is all throughout the scriptures, and especially the first part of this chapter. All right, when he says he was envious of the wicked. All right, I believe that's verse 4. All right, and it's already prophesied and guaranteed that these people are going to lose. All right, so yeah, you look at these people and they think they got all the power, but it's no security in it as she's experiencing right now. All right, because they're guaranteed to fall. Verse 18, surely thou didst set them in slippery places. Thou castest them down into destruction. How are they brought into desolation? As in a moment they are utterly consumed with terrors. All right. And like, especially in the environment that we're in now, people like her, not so much, even now. Like I said, who's going to feel sorry for her? It may be, they might look out for her, they may, but, considering there's this divide, but again, they might just say, fuck this bitch. All right, back to the video.
Very difficult place.
Michael, Sarah reported that Todd Blanche is eager to make his tenure as the acting attorney general permanent. Let me play for you and our viewers what he said on Fox last night. Take a listen to this.
Now, the Epstein files, you'd agree, not handled well? And I don't, first of all, I have never heard President Trump say that the Attorney General that anything that happened to her had anything to do with the Epstein files. And so, look, the Epstein files has been a saga that's lasted for the past year. And so I think that to the extent that the Epstein files was a part of the past year of this Justice Department, should not be a part of anything going forward. When President Trump said, let's release the Epstein files, and the law was passed that allowed us to legally do it, we did it. Okay, I'm not sure you totally
although heavily redacted.
What people feel about that.
That might be the truest thing Jesse Waters has ever said, right? Because on one hand, the base of MAGA that thought that Donald Trump was going to release the Epstein files are angry about the Epstein files. Is Todd Blanche any more likely than Pam Bondi to be able to balance the tension between not angering that base that demands more accountability on the Epstein files or alienating Donald Trump on Epstein?
Yeah, like I said, a lot more heads are going to roll. All right. This is Proverbs 13. All right. And 9. It says, the light of the righteous rejoiceth, but the lamp of the wicked shall be put out. All right. It says, only by pride cometh contention. All right, let's look that up real quick. Contention. Strong's H4683, a quarrel. All right. Debate, strife. All right. Matazah. All right. Is that not what we're seeing? Like I said, Reservoir Dogs.
There's Winston Churchill saying about dictators riding to and fro on tigers that they dare not dismount for fear of getting eaten. And that's what we're seeing now with everybody who sacrificed their integrity for a senior position with the Trump administration. Pam Bondi, just like the president and just like all the other supporters throughout the campaign, did every single thing she could to light a fire among their supporters, demanding more action on the Epstein files. and it eventually came back to burn her herself.
Yep.
And there is no reason to think that Todd Blanche will escape that same fate. And I just point out in the interview you just referred to that you just ran, Todd Blanche is either dissembling on purpose or is not mentally competent enough and intelligent enough to serve as the Attorney General of the United States. Nothing he said had the ring of.
And again, that's another issue. When I said this is all smoke and mirrors. Now, what they did is convince some other minorities, and I'm talking about when it came to affirmative action and DEI, but specifically affirmative action. All right, because for some reason they thought that Jake didn't belong in these, especially the Ivy League schools, not realizing that if Jake is there, Jake worked his ass off. All right, but they couldn't, they just didn't want to accept that. But the real problem is the legacy admissions, because you got motherfuckers that are dumb as rocks, but because of their name and their connections, they're up in there and they happen to just slide into a 6 or 7 figure a year job. See, this place is just wicked. It's destined to fail, as the scriptures, as the prophecies dictate. That's why this place has to go, because there's no righteousness in this place. There's, like I said, it's got a bunch of deviants and, just downright just wicked cave beasts that are running everything. And those that are what I consider their familiars, like in the Blade movie, the first one. These people want to kiss their ass and just be, amongst what they deem as greatness,
Of truth to it. And if anyone in the public or in Congress thinks that they are going to get a better servant of the Constitution and the rule of law in Todd Blanche than they did in Pam Bondi, I would like to have access to whatever drugs they have access to. It's insane.
So there you go. I'm going to end it there. Once again, this has been from MS Now. It says, bye-bye Bondi. We won't. All right. Former AG portrait found in trash. 24 hours after ouster. Wow. No one deserves it better, as the song goes. All right. All right. So with that, once again, let's see. I might have another scripture. Hold on. Let's see. Let's go. 17. All right, yeah. This is Proverbs 17 and 11. It says, an evil man or woman seeketh only rebellion. Therefore, a cruel messenger shall be sent against him. All right, yeah. You brought it on yourself. All of you have been exposed, all right, for the racist pieces of shit that you really are. That's what it comes down to, all right? And it's being exposed to where everyone can see, all right? It's public, all right? Hey, so with that, once again, I hope whoever views this video has been edified. Let me see if we can get a couple of comments before I shut it down. As soon as this thing catches up with me. These people aren't being fired for doing a bad job. They're being fired for not doing a bad enough job. All right. Now she knows exactly what her colleagues really think of her. Exactly. Good riddance to bad trash. Bye. Got fired because the Dow is no longer at 50,000. If you're making reference to what she said at a hearing. All right. The photo would make a good lining for my bird cage. trash is as trash lands. The most corrupt AG in history fired for not being corrupt enough. Good point. We are a laughing stock. Exactly what I was saying about it. Everything's being exposed. People of the world is seeing this and laughing. We are a laughing stock of the world. To even have somebody like Trump to be president of the United States of America is truly embarrassing. All right. Bondi has earned her very own "I lied, cheated, and stole for Donald Trump, and all I got was thrown under the bus" t-shirt. Trump demands unconditional loyalty but offers none in return. He uses people until they're all used up, then he tosses them in the garbage. I got to end it right there because enough said. That sums it up right there. All right, so once again, I'd like to remind you to be circumspect out here. Keep your eyes and ears open, all right, and constantly monitor the news abroad, all right, and, search around, because you're certainly not going to get it with your local news. Be diligent in your searching, all right? So with that, until the next video, hey, shalom.